Hello, everyone, and welcome to a 10-part series on how to be a great leader in this new and often challenging world of work that we operate in.
Workforce Excellence, involvedgroup.com.
So in this session, I'll be focusing on the 7th of the 10 traits that employees highlighted for being a great leader, which is about how leaders need to make the right decision and not the popular decision. And this one actually came to me as a bit of a surprise, but in a good way, because it was really encouraging to hear from employees that they, as much as we as leaders, want to do what is right and not necessarily what is popular or easy. So I'll be answering two questions. Why is it important for leaders to make the right decision? And how can you, as a leader, make the right decision? So let me start out by saying that as a leader, we should never underestimate the impact of a single decision. One wrong move, and it can ruin what you and your team are able to achieve and deliver, as well as something as critical and fundamental as your relationship with your employees. So to answer the why question when it comes to making the right decision, it's important to do this as it drives the right results, driving employee engagement, and minimizes the risks to you, to your team, and to the business. And for this reason, in this session, I'm going to focus our time together on the how. So how to make the right decisions, so that when you stand in the fork in the road, having to decide what direction to go, you'll know how to remove the confusion and uncertainty and get it right when it comes to decision making. So I'm going to share with you 6 tips to help you weigh your options and to ensure your decisions are the right ones. So the first thing to keep in mind is that nowhere on your job description for being a leader does it list the responsibility of being popular. Yes, of course, we all want to be liked, but that's not a cornerstone of being a good leader. It's more a byproduct of being one. And the fact that in our survey said that they want the right decisions and not the popular ones, even from our leaders, says that it's just as important to them as well. The next tip is about making your decisions based on strategy. If you start your decision-making process with strategy, your why, then the decision will be much clearer to make and will be more effective as it's ultimately driving your strategy. This is especially important when you have to make difficult decisions, as it gives you not only a focus, but an explanation as to why the decision was made. An example of this was a decision that I made at my previous company when I was global head of rewards, and I made the decision to remove one of their favorite benefit programs. The primary reason for taking this action was that it didn't align with our new reward strategy. And as the expression goes, this benefit stuck out like a sore thumb when I lined it up against the new strategy. And by aligning my decision with the strategy, it was much clearer, much easier for me to see that the decision had to be made. And also at a later point, it was much easier and much clearer for me to explain it to my employees. The next tip is to work it out, which involves testing out your decision. So taking it out for a workout or a test drive. It's something I do either formally or informally whenever I make a decision, as it gives me feedback and perspectives to the decision or even the consequences of the decision that I might never have considered. And it also presents signs, which leads me to my next tip. So for this tip, I'd like to suggest that you not only see the signs, but that you stop and you pay attention to them before you make your final decision. Look for signs that say that you're not on the right track, or if there's any red flags, so warning signs that your decision may not be the right one, as it may cause problems that you may not be able to overcome. Now, I'm not saying that these warning signs should always stop you from making the right decision, but what I am saying is to take time and take a moment to recognize and reflect on them, and then make the right decision by weighing the pros and the cons of what you've seen and learned from these different signs. It's very common for leaders, even smart leaders, to make bad decisions based on emotions. And for this reason, my next tip is to remove the emotion. Emotions often crowd out or mask objectivity, and we instead follow our hearts, relying on intuition or gut feelings over hard facts, data, and strategy. And then we end up making bad decisions. If we instead remove the emotion and focus on these facts, data, and strategy, we have a much better chance of coming up with the right decision. The final tip is to make sure that you can live with your decision. Let's say, for example, your decision is to, restructure your team, and you've made it by carefully looking at your strategy, testing it out on some people, looking for signs, and removing the emotion. Stop one more time and ask yourself if you can live with the impact of this decision, which in this case, in this example, is to move to a new structure. For example, can you live and deal with employees leaving because they don't agree with or approve with this new structure? Can you live and can you deal with it taking longer to get things done in the short term as people will need to learn their new roles? Now, again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't make your decision because of these impacts and by looking at it this way, but what I am saying is that you should be aware of them and be prepared to face and overcome them if and when you make your decision. Going back to my example of removing a favorite benefit program, I did consider and I evaluated the worst case scenarios, which in this situation would have been if my employees were so upset by my decision that they either became disengaged or left the business. And my thoughts were that as long as I explained to them the decision in an open and honest way, something I talked about in the second of these series, then I did feel that this was not a risk. And the good news is, in this situation, that's exactly what happened. My employees understood the change. They continued to be engaged and supportive when I made the change. So those are my 6 tips to help you make the right decision. I hope you found them helpful, and please keep them in mind next time you need to make a decision. Thank you for your time, and I hope you join my other sessions on how to be a great leader.